Trump's border czar is in a little bit of trouble for taking a bag full of cash in exchange for government contracts. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's actually completely legal. Just how did Tom Homan manage to skirt a DOJ investigation that frankly had him doing some stuff that would be kind of disgusting if anyone else had done it? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about this. Now, I've actually met Tom Homan when I worked at DHS as an auditor, and he was not a big fan of me, or senior inspector, or whatever you want to call what I was doing. But what's troubling about this is that the story is that Tom Homan accepted a bag with $50,000 in it from an undercover FBI agent last year in a Justice Department bribery investigation. Right now, what had happened is that the department started this probe or the FBI started this probe around August of 2024, near the end of the Biden administration. There was a separate national security investigation that a target, again, repeatedly brought up Homan, saying he was collecting bribes in exchange for future government contracts. And so the FBI said, listen, if this is for real, then we should see if this is serious. Because if it is, it's really troubling, right? Now remember, so the FBI said, listen, we're going to keep going with this undercover, this Justice Department investigation. And by the way, generally when you see this sort of stuff, that the target repeatedly brought up Homan, this is actually, believe it or not, how the college admissions scandal got brought up, because the FBI or the SEC was launching a unrelated investigation into securities fraud. And when they finally confronted the person who did it, he said, listen, in exchange for a lighter sentence, I can give you an even juicier target. And so the FBI probably rolled this dude up and for whatever national security thing. And he said, listen, there's a high level guy in the Trump administration who's collecting bribes to feed government contracts. And the FBI said, well, we need to know about this. So what did they do? Well, they said, let's see. Let's meet with Tom Homan, pretend to be a businessman, and, see what he wants in exchange for directing us government contracts. And the answer is Homan was caught on a recording accepting a $50,000 bribe in the form of a bag of cash in a kava bag. Shout out to kava, right? Now, when Trump returned to the White House, a grand jury probe into Homan in West Texas was still in its early stages. And of course, Emil Bove, who was the acting attorney general and then got flipped into a federal judge, said that, guys, you should never have done this deep state operation, which was, quote, blatantly a political investigation and, quote, yet another example of the Biden Department of Justice using its resources to target President Trump's allies. Which is just crazy, because again, a $50,000 bag of cash in exchange for directing government contracts to a company is kind of fucked up. Now, but here's where things go kind of sideways. It is actually pretty tough to prove public corruption, right? Because here's what is illegal. It is illegal to say, I will let you win government contracts in exchange for 50 grand. I'll make sure you guys win these government contracts. And the problem is that here's what's not illegal. I know everything there is to know about government contracting, and I will make sure your proposal crosses every T and dots every I so that you are as competitive as possible. And I'm a consultant, and I charge $50,000 as my upfront fee. Illegal. Consultant. Illegal. Bribe. But do you see how mashed together those things are? Now, here's the thing. If you say, I'm a consultant, I will help you win a government contract by crossing your T's and dotting your I's, because in my day job, I work for the government, that's a problem. That's illegal, okay? To both help someone win a contract and to have any level of oversight or connection to those contracts. Again, see the 7 years I spent in the Department of Homeland Security as a senior inspector investigating all sorts of fraud, waste, and abuse, including stuff like this. And so the fact is that is sort of the problem the FBI had, is that they could, at best, because Tom Homan was not in the government, and because they closed the probe before Tom Homan had done the part where he got them a no-bid contract. The issue is that the FBI had to wait and see for Tom Homan to deliver, because otherwise, if he wasn't going to deliver, he would have just done well, it's not clear he would have committed a crime. He could have just been a consultant with really bad accounting. Maybe he liked having his payments in cash, and maybe he just loved kava, neither of which are crimes. And so the problem is that Tom Homan, the FBI was just waiting for the second half of the crime to happen, right? Homan receives the bribe, he enters the administration, and now if he had illegally directed the contracts to this one company, that's it, open and shut case. If Homan had done nothing and the company happened to win the contracts, even though Homan never really weighed in on it, well, Homan would just get away, right? He didn't do anything. He didn't commit a crime. He just yoinked 50 grand from a dumb person. He ran a simple scam. No better or worse than scamming than running an Amazon return scam, right? Still maybe lightly criminal, but not enough for even a regular beat cop to go after. But the meta question is, is this the clue that this was illegal is that Tom Homan took it in bags of cash, right? A real consultant is going to have actual invoices. They're going to say, you pay me for this service I provided you, consulting services, which happens all the time, right? And it's hard. In the sting operation, Homan claimed he would keep the bribe money in a trust until he had completed his service in the Trump administration. So it's hard to prove. And the FBI was in the phase where they were like, listen, we're just going to wait. We're just going to wait, and we're going to get these contracts, and then we're going to see what Tom Homan did to win these contracts, and we're going to hit him with public corruption charges. But obviously, a Trump loyalist, Emil Bove, shut it down, saying that this was clearly a deep state operation to humiliate a Trump ally. But here's the question. Who humiliated Tom Homan? I'd say probably Tom Homan. By saying, pay me this money in cash, I'm going to keep it in a trust till after I leave the administration, and then I'm going to collect on it, and I'm going to win you some contracts. Even if it doesn't rise to the level of crime, guys, does that sound like who's the deep state here? Probably Tom Homan selling government contracts to no-bid contractors. And here's what I want to contrast this with, because this is what bothers me. Tom Homan is inside the administration. Now I want you to see what the president says about government officials who are not in his administration. He says, this is a public tweet of his, where he says, I, the president, have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying nothing is being done about Comey, Adam Schiff, or Letitia. He means Letitia James, I think, the New York State Attorney General. Trump says they're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. And then Trump says, well, I accidentally put in what he calls a woke rhino, a Republican in name only, who's never going to do his job. That's why Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit, which is not the case. I fired him because there is a great case and many lawyers said so. So, okay, what to help decode, translate from Trump to English, what he is saying is that Trump told his attorney general, listen, I need you to charge James Comey, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James with a crime. And you have to find a crime to charge them with. And the attorney general, or the U.S. attorney, said, guys, there isn't a crime to charge them with. They didn't commit a crime. Trump said, I'm going to fire you and replace you with someone who will charge them with a crime, because I, the president, have already decided they are guilty. They're all guilty as hell. So isn't it weird that the president says, guys, they're guilty as hell, but you can't find a crime, but we're going to find a crime to charge you with. Now, how does this square with, again, Trump's own federal judge, Emil Bove, his former personal attorney, saying, listen, Tom Holman accepting bags of cash for contracts is a deep state farce and clearly a setup. But somehow the president saying, I know you're guilty, we just haven't found the crime yet, is like absolutely the most double standard. I mean, it's not, you can't call it justice. It's just punishment, right? He said, Trump adds, they impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Again, it was not nothing. The 2 impeachments were over real, concrete presidential actions. Says justice must be served now, right? And then, of course, you notice that Trump is he thinks he's being subtle. He's saying Pam Bondi's doing a great job as Attorney General. She needs a tough prosecutor, tough AUSA in the Eastern District of Virginia, as I recommended. I recommend this person. I'll be nominating this person, and she will be fair and smart and provide the justice for all. So it's clear that Trump says, listen, I'm going to keep nominating new people into this role until you charge my political enemies with some kind of crime. Just find the crime. I know they're guilty. Whereas Tom Homan is told, listen, there's no action he could take that would be guilty or corrupt. It is impossible because how can you be corrupt if you work for the president? The president is always right and cannot be corrupt. It's very simple and very clear, and absolutely something that would be considered completely par for the course, completely normal in a place like Vladimir Putin's Russia or Xi Jinping's China. But it's here in the US of A. So good luck out there. You may have noticed that my content has taken a lot more of a strong stance on controversial issues, but it hasn't come without cost. I have lost tens of thousands of dollars in sponsorships and subscribers. So if you appreciate the direction that I am going and standing up to what I think is true, you guys can help me out by becoming a member at combatvetnews.com, right? Every Tuesday and Thursday, I try to drop the uncensored combat videos about the realities of life on the front lines for all kinds of different units. But it's also the best way to support the channel. I host it myself. You can also access all of my YouTube videos on there. So it is the way that I can reach you guys without having to depend on increasingly restrictive platforms that increasingly want to curry favor with the government by silencing critical voices. So if you can help me keep me on the airwaves, so to speak, and become a member, the link is in the description. Thanks to our Colonel tier members. You guys are the OGs. Guys like Yanko Georgiev, Bastian Himmerling, Michael Fry, Christine Schumann, Chris Holmes, and Deborah Oppenheimer, as well as all of our Lieutenant tier members. You guys make this possible. Thank you so much. Hit subscribe. See ya. Cheers.